The presentation you will be observing is our group project, which is athletics. In the slides, there are three main topics: history, popularity, and inclusion and exclusion. This project will show background history of athletics and how it is integrated in Australia and why athletics is popular in Australia compared to other sports within Australia. It also includes who is included in athletic activities and what makes others to be excluded in the sport of athletics. The reports will show data and pictures about the athletic in Australia in comparison to other sports organisations in the country. This paper will discuss three factors which can contribute to this presentation: economics, social institution, and geography. The Olympic Games that captivated the world one nation at a time have been a constant impending growth of prior adaptations that have stemmed to create what we know as the modern Olympic Games, branded in 1896. The prior aforementioned adaptations are a culmination of 19th century sports, festivals, and cultural influences all the way to the famous ancient Greek games. These changes are derived from the European politics of the early 19th century, with the specific contributions of France to aid its impending defeat against German forces in 1870. However, not all was adapted over time, a prime example being the occurrence of the Games. For more than 1,000 years, the ancient Olympic Games were held every 4 years, which, despite many alterations to various different aspects of the Games, has remained the same from some of the earliest recordings of Games in the years between 776 BC and AD 260 in Olympia. The 4 year gap between the occurrence of the Games builds the anticipation and allows athletes to build their skills and talents to the best of their abilities in order to perform at the highest ranking competition level in the world. This practice of training between the Games was common for athletes back in the times of the bustling Olympia, where athletes would compete in the Olympics in front of all types of members of society, from some of the land's political leaders to thousands of spectators from all over Greece. Yet it wasn't the aforementioned crowd that were the most influential on the athletes. It was in fact the mythical gods of Apollo, Poseidon, and Zeus, as the Games were dedicated to them. Warwick Perenselvi is a former Australian Olympic athlete who competes in shot put and discus throw events at the time. Warwick won a total of 18 Australian championships in athletics competitions between 1960 and 1973, which is a record for male athletes. Warwick also competed in discus throw and shot put in Rome in 1960 and in Tokyo in 1964. Warwick participated in international games and national Australian competition. Based on the performance of Warwick in domestic competition around Australia and international games, I think he was the best. The history of Warwick is very unique based on an athletic record from the 60s and the 70s. In 1962 Commonwealth Games shot put, Warwick was successfully finishing for and on discus throw event he finished. It was the Lord Mayor of Perth, Sir Harry Howard, who in 1956 made the successful bid for the Commonwealth Games for 1962. Although all these athletes performed in front of the world for a split second after antagonizing weight from the last meet 4 years prior, the audience celebrates their achievements for long periods of time after in recognition of their hard work and talent. Although they aren't competing to please the mythical gods, these athletes step out to their next competition with the same passion and thrive to succeed. And finally, although various aspects of the games change, some things remain the same.
Peter Norman is flying on the outside. Here comes Eigenherr of West Germany. He's a threat. So too is the Trinidadian Robert. In the centre of the field is Tommy Smith running through first, and Peter Norman runs a place. Smith, full muscle and all, couldn't have pulled it that badly. He beat John Carlos. And Peter Norman could have run a second place.
What once only consisted of a single 190-meter sprint over time expanded to incorporate other recognized sports such as boxing, wrestling, and pentathlon. The introduction of these sports has introduced us to some of the world's best athletes, whom many children have grown up to idolize and worship. Athletes such as James Connolly of the United States, who won the triple jump in 1896 Games in Athens, leading him to become the first Olympic champion in over 1,500 years, or branded as the world's fastest man in recent times, Usain Bolt, who as of the last Olympic Games in 2016 has 9 gold medals in his name in honor of his efforts on the track, as well as being crowned an 11th time world champion, quite similar to our very own green and gold girl, Cathy Freeman, who became the first Australian Aboriginal woman to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games in 1990, who later became an inspiration to all females in sport and all Australian Aboriginals.
Overall, you can make the claim that athletics is popular in Australia. This can be based alone on participation rates. Participation rates are a clear indicator to determine the popularity of a certain sport. Athletics is ranked in the top 20 sports by participation rates in Australia for both males and females. And for males, is ranked in the top 10 activities with 17.8% of the population participating in it. It can be determined popular as anyone in Australia can participate in athletics if they choose to. In today's society, there are ranges of backgrounds competing in the sport. Disabled people, elderly and teenagers can all compete. Both women and men participate in the sport equally. Only concern is ability. If people aren't that talented, they may feel low self-esteem with things such as coming last. So people can choose to participate in the sport competitively at things such as national championships, or can participate in it recreationally or the fun side. Athletics is a very popular spectator sport, with it being the second most viewed sport at the 2016 Rio Olympics, and the Australian Nitro Circus Athletics rivaled the league attendance numbers when they were on the same night at the same state. Athletics amongst children and middle-aged adults is found to be one of the most popular sports in Australia. With the Ausplay data, athletics is in the top 10 most popular recreational/sport activities for both men, women and children in Australia. Athletics is a popular sport across the majority of countries around the world. There was no exact number, but with exactly 206 countries competing at the 2016 Rio Olympics, it would be assumed that the majority of these countries participated in athletics. As it is the sport with one of the most competitors, as a large majority of countries across the globe participate in athletics. A key contributing factor to athletics in Australia is the economic backing and support given by the Australian federal government, state and local. Although the money we spend on athletics competition, training and facilities can be seen as minor to countries such as China and America, for our population we invest a fair amount. Social institutions also help athletics in being popular. There are many major bodies that promote athletics for all age groups, such as Little Athletics, Athletics Australia, including state athletics, and Masters Athletics. Participation in athletics across all age groups increases when big events such as the Olympics or the World Championships are on. These events add to the promotion of the sport, as there is very little advertisement of the sport other than during these periods. As taxpayers, we spent over $26 million between 2012 and 2016 just on athletics, for athletes to train and compete at the Rio Olympic Games. As this is only a small section of Olympics, this is a considerable amount of money spent and invested into maximising the performance of our athletes. This can then lead to money going through the grassroots and athletic clubs, as money is spent to get the best athletes to thrive in our country, and at the same time improve popularity of the sport.
Athletics is one of all the most inclusive sport for every Australian. There aren't many barriers that can stop someone from participating in athletics. It is relatively equal when it comes to gender equality as Australia. The total population of Australia is 23.78 million. In June 2015, the sex ratio of the total population for Australia was 99 males per 100 females. Overall, participation in organised sport was higher among boys with 67% than girls with 54%. Athletics is relatively equal when it comes to gender equality, as Australia have numerous famous female Olympic medalists such as Sally Pearson, which encourages females, especially young women, looking up to decorative athletes. We have come a long way in regards to racism in sports, as it has become more inclusive of Aboriginal athletes representing Australia, thanks in part to Cathy Freeman's success at the Olympic Games. People with disabilities or physical handicaps are also given the right to participate in athletics with their own international games, such as the Special Olympics and Paralympics respectively. Athletics is ranked third in adult activities in Australia, tallying up to 15.8% of the population, yet athletics drops down below the top 10 in club participation for adults. Lack of money in the sport and opportunity to make a living could be one of the reasons why the sport drops out of top 10 for adults in club participation. For children, athletics is ranked 10th in activities at 4.4% of the population, although it ranks 8th in club participation in Australia. For men, athletics is ranked 3rd in activity with 17.8% of the population participating, while athletics for women is ranked 4th with 13.9% participating. Athletics is ranked 9th for boys' activities with 3.9% of the population participating, yet for girls, athletics sits at 6th with 5% participating in the activity. These statistics show that there isn't a major shift of participation rates between males and females, yet there is a shift between club participation from children to adults. Altogether, 1% of the population participate in club athletics, ranking 10th in all club sports. Athletics is incredibly inclusive compared to other sports in an economic and geographical sense. According to membership details provided by Athletics Victoria, membership fees range between $50 and $250 depending on age. Comparing this to the average wage of Australia provided by the ABS, the average full-time working Australian earns in excess of $1,500, making the affordability of athletics very high. Geographically, athletics in Australia is readily available. All major metro cities in Australia have over 15 clubs, with all major regional hubs, towns such as Horsham, Ballarat, Mildura, etc. have at least one athletics club. To summarize, the evidence found has pointed in the direction that the sport of athletics is a very inclusive sport. Although there are exclusive factors involved in athletics such as geography, they are very limited and it primarily focuses on inclusive factors.
Athletics has been around for thousands of years. The ancient ran for more than 1,000 years and was held every 4 years. Athletics has been found to be very popular in Australia based on the participation rates from the research we have done. Athletics also is popular in terms of spectator sport participation. An example of this is the 2016 Rio Olympics coming as the second most viewed sport of the Games. Because of its global influence, it has attracted so many sponsorship deals. Athletics among the children found it to be the most popular sport in Australia as compared to other clubs in Australia with the Ausplay data. Athletics is the top 10 most popular recreation sport activities for both men and women and children based on the Ausplay Australia. Athletics is very accepting and there is no restriction to participation no matter their physical ability, gender, age, race, or social economic status.